Hopefully this does not fuck anything up. Okay, it's recording now. I'm going to share the screen now. All right, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, let me get you guys a better view. All right, so this is basically what Premiere Pro looks like when you open it up, or this is what it looks like when you open up a new project. And I'm going to start from the bottom here, actually. I'm going to expand this a little bit for you guys. So this is like the project folder. So whenever you open up a new project in Premiere Pro, everything that you want to start with, like any media of your own that you want to use, you're going to put in this slide here. And the way you go about putting new material in, because I'm going to bring in the stuff that I'm going to show you guys right now, is you double click here and choose whatever files you want for this. Can you guys see me choosing the files right now or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now I'm going to pull some of the dyno day footage that we did for the club during the fall semester last year. Let that import. Okay, so as you can see, we got the clips in here now, and good practice for any kind of organizing stuff when you're editing, because either whether you're editing by yourself or with the team, try to put things in like bins. So create a bin and like right now I just have clips, but if I were to put sound and make sound one, something that's called a sequence is something I'm going to explain in a second, but they usually get their own bins as well. Just so you can keep everything organized, because if you're working with a really big project, at one point you have so many things going on that you kind of lose track easily, and assets are going to change from here to there. So it's just better to like get that caught early ahead of time rather than like wait for it to backfire later. So if I just move just drag and drop it into the clips file. All right. So once you have your clips imported, what you're going to mostly be doing like all of your editing in is the timeline here. And what works in a timeline are things called sequences. You can make sequences two ways. You can either drag and drop a clip into the sequence, if it works with me. Yep. Yeah, so you can drag and drop a clip into the sequence, or go down here to this little page-like item at the bottom left of the screen and just create a new sequence and get more specific details. And I'm just gonna name it draft 01 for now. And in here, this is where you can mess with the settings. Like if there was a specific type of video that you have ahead of time, you would cater the sequence of settings to it. Like when I drag and drop the media straight into the timeline, it'll fit itself to whatever the video settings are from the media I dropped in. But if I have something if I have an idea of what it is ahead of time, I can just make a new sequence and then go through all of these pre-selected or pre-made settings and go like that. Is that a question in the chat? Okay, no, that's just the whole thing. Okay. So I'm going to actually use the draft one edit here. And like it says, so like I was just saying, the settings that I just made the new sequence with don't match the the ones that the media is. So you can either just keep the existing settings of the sequence we just had or adjust it so it meets the media settings itself. So like right now, I'm just going to keep the existing settings. And this is where another good tip comes in that I feel for this is whenever you're going to start editing something, whether it be a short film, a sketch, or whatever, you should always, whenever you drag all of your clips into the sequence, like I'm going to choose just some more random clips to add in here for right now, add it on to each other. Always create a original copy of whatever the sequence is, because you're going to edit this a lot at the end of the day. And if you feel like you messed up somewhere, it's good to just have an original copy to go back to and reference for what was originally there. So I'll just call this the original for right now. Okay, awesome. So let's move on over to the timeline. So like I said, the timeline is essentially where all of like the actual editing is going to occur. So what you do with the timeline is you, like I said, you drag and drop media into it, and they'll give you these settings on the left right here. So the video part, anything that you're going to see from the media that you have will show up on these tabs here. And you can click the eye icon to, like, you know, make it go dark so you don't see it. And like that's helpful if I were to layer these on top of each other. And let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. If I were to layer these on top of each other and then I hid this one, you see the one on the bottom. And the bottom, oh, back real quick. And the bottom part is where all the audio stuff happens. This is where you can, if you need to listen to specific tracks, if they were on different lines, you would hit the M to mute certain tracks so you can just hear whatever's on the other lines. And Premiere has this actually cool function where if you just have, if there's like some voiceover stuff that you want to do and just do it like quick and easy and rough, you can just hit this little microphone icon right here and you can record your own voice over the video. It'll just go along in time with the video. So once you have, whatever you have in your timeline is going to appear here in this program monitor. In program monitor, you can adjust it and just basically play. So like right now I'm just gonna play whatever the footage was that we got. I genuinely don't know what it is, so it's gonna surprise everyone in a second. But I'm gonna play it for now. All right, let me share the computer audio with you guys. All right, now here we go.
I've seen that dino guy many times.
All right, so that's that lovely footage from last fall. I have no recollection of who's inside that dino suit, unfortunately, but big props to them because I know it was hot as hell in there. But so the program monitor is where you would go and basically rewatch all your footage as you're editing it, changing it up. And these little things up here, they have like nice little features up. Obviously, the play button right here, you can go frame by frame for stuff. So if you need to make exact edits, you can do that up here with whatever you need to change. You can export a specific frame from whatever you're watching. So if you need to get like stills from whatever you filmed, like if say that you're a YouTuber or something, you need to get a thumbnail for a video specifically, that's basically where you need to go to get the little frame that you want. Comparison view is a little tricky, but it's mostly like comparing whatever the current, so back in the timeline where the sequence is, where my cursor is at the moment, this little cursor thing, it scrubs through the video. So it'll play the audio and the video however fast I'm moving it, like that. And the comparison view is actually going to compare the previous media in the sequence to whatever the cursor is on top of right now, just so like you can understand like how it's flowing at the moment. So then to take a quick detour away from the timeline, I'm just going to start explaining some of the other, and let's go back to normal view right now, some of the other panels here. So if you don't want to immediately start throwing stuff into the sequence, because that can get really messy if you have to rewatch footage, you can use the source tab that I have my cursor on top of over to the left, and basically drag and drop media in there too, so you can just watch your footage over in full. So then that's the source panel. The other important panel is the control panels. This is where you can really start getting into like the actual editing stuff. So this is where you control, for example, the scale of whatever you're working with. So like right now, the actual video itself is too big for the screen it's on. So I can mess with the scale to make it actually fit the frame. Now you can actually see the entire dinosaur and his entire body move through that laughable door. mess with the position and things like that.
Wait
Mess
a
with the
minute.
rotation. Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So if you go to effects controls, what do you click on to see this? You can like make the frame fit the frame.
Yeah, so you would click on the positions um, effect and mess with the numbers on the side. So right now you can see, but I'm just clicking on it and I'm dragging my mouse like left and right to the screen, and the numbers adjust itself. But you can also put in like the actual numbers yourself. So like I'm going to type in 330, and it will move the frame to that. But you would touch these settings right here where the cursor's over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, just in case I wanted to like make it bigger or smaller or
Yeah,
slightly
exactly.
with these.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was just reading a question from the chat.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yes, and Jesse's absolutely right. You can also double click on the clip itself and click on scale to frame the size to help it make fit automatically. Yeah, so there's other, and also, yeah, like people like Jesse and Amit are using right now. You can also use the chat to ask questions if you don't want to take your mic off. And Amit asked me a question in the chat just now. When I was working on student MFA films over at NYU in Columbia, did they mainly use Premiere Pro, Final Cut, or something else? They mainly use Premiere Pro and Final Cut. Yeah, and like the programs at the school, from what I remember, don't have like explicit classes for them on editing, since most of the focus is from those MFA programs. From the students I was talking to, were basically around directing and writing, and then like producing stuff, so like understanding location setup and things like that. But most of them ended up using Premiere Pro, Final Cut. Some of them did use like DaVinci Resolve and stuff, but from what I saw, it was mostly Premiere Pro and Final Cut between those two things.
Perfect.
Um, yeah, and I can see I've like really messed up the video now. So if I want to return it to its original settings, I would go onto this little half scroll right here and just reset the parameter. So it sets it back to its original settings that it was in when I put it into the sequence. And since it still doesn't already fit no problem of it. But and since again it doesn't fit the video, I'm going to return the scale back to the number that it was before. Right. So since it's called effect controls, let's start talking a little bit about effects. The effects tab, we're not going to go through every single effect because that deserves its entire own semester online course. But oops, I moved it. But whenever you want to use an effect,
What's
basically,
up?
whenever you want to use an effect, basically, you can go through the different effects here. Simple stuff like the video transitions, the infamous cross dissolve is in here. If you're ever looking for an effect that you already know ahead of time, just type it into the search bar and you'll be able to find it quickly. Cross dissolve is so popular that it has its own shortcut on Premiere Pro, since like that's what everyone basically uses at one time or another. And I believe it's Command D on a Mac, and I don't know what it is on a Windows. I'm going to assume probably Control D on a window. But whenever you're using any effect from the effects panel, what you can do is just click on it, hold, and drag and drop it onto the sequence clip like this. So yeah. So since this is a transition, it's going to go in between these two clips right here. And once I play it back, cross dissolve's there now. And if you ever want to make the cross dissolve longer, or like any kind of video transition with Premiere Pro, you can just kind of squeeze the sequence a little bit to make it smaller so you can really get in there. Click on the effect directly because it shows up in between it, and then go to the end of it and you'll see that your cursor actually changes shape, like a bracket. If you click on the bracket, you can expand it so that it'll automatically make it longer, or shorten it to shorten it. So let's take a look at it when I make it longer. Let me put it
I
there.
never knew you could do that.
Yeah, so you can see the cross dissolve takes longer to make happen. And quick shortcut that's really handy at any program, if you just hit Control Z or Command Z, it'll undo anything that you just did, kind of like, Microsoft Word or any kind of program. Command Z or Control Z is always the name of the game with that kind of stuff. But let's take a look at a transition that's a little bit different, or not a transition, but like an actual effect. So let's look up Gaussian blur. Pretty popular effect for just blurring anything. We're going to, can you guys hear my roommates, by the way? Or is it good?
You can kind of hear them, but it's not a
What is
big
that
deal.
noise?
Is someone being murdered? Or
That's
are
what
they-
that's what I was hearing.
I think they're just watching either a game right now or playing something, but it's like I started hearing them myself just now, so I just want to know if that was bothering you guys.
I think you're good.
Okay. Let me know if it bothers you, because I can ask them to quiet down a bit. They'll listen. But so let's talk about the actual effect right now. Gaussian blur. Now this isn't a video transition. So when I drag and drop it onto the sequence itself, it's not going to show up there. Where it's going to show up is the effect control panel again. So if I go back to that and make that a little bit wider, you'll see that originally the panel itself just had the motion graphic here, or motion effect here, and the audio stuff. But now the Gaussian blur one got added. And now that's where we can start messing with the effects of that. So if I like really turn up the blurriness, video blurs out. And if I reset parameters, video is back to normal again. So the effect control is basically really important once you've like really cut your footage together, put everything in order where you want it to be, and finally actually start like needing to do those different adjustments of blurring out stuff, timing with different things, stuff like that. Any questions about that right now?
So the blur thing, what's up? The blur thing, you can make anything unblurry or blurry by clicking the Gaussian blur thing.
So you can make things blurry, but you couldn't make things unblurry. Like if I were to give you footage, right, and the image was already out of focus, I couldn't make it more in focus in Premiere Pro. I could make it more out of focus, or not out of focus, but I can make it more blurry and make it seem out of focus. But if it came in out of focus, I couldn't fix that.
Oh, well, I used iMovie for a while, and I found a way to like make something unblurry.
Okay.
That's just what I was wondering if the same thing applied here.
Oh, as far as I know, no. If anyone else knows if there's a way to do that in Premiere Pro, please tell me yourself, because that could come in handy many times before now. But as far as I know, when stuff is you can't like fix most like production mistakes or just ways that they came in inside of most editing programs as is. But
I have one question.
yeah, go ahead.
So if you go to the timeline, like
Yeah,
there's,
no problem.
there's rows, right? You got 3 for audio and I guess 3 for video as well.
Yep.
What's the point of stacking multiple videos?
So
Or can you not
actually,
do
this
that?
is no, you can do that, absolutely. So it depends on what you want to do with the project, basically. So for example, if I wanted to put this video on top of this one right now, and I made the one that's on top a lot smaller, or, oh wait, let me fix that, right, okay. Right, something that I just did that you should keep in mind, and always remember, pay attention to which one you're clicked on, just so you don't mess up anything that you've already done. But so like, say I'm shrinking this, right? Think of like,
I
yeah,
see the application
exactly, like
for
a
that,
news
yeah.
broadcast or something like that. That's really helpful for
Right.
them because they need to layer stuff on top of each other, like graphics and stuff like that. And
Cool.
this is actually really helpful that you asked this question, because this kind of leads to the next.
Can you do pictures too?
Yeah, exactly.
Pictures?
That's exactly what I was going to talk
Okay.
about. So you can put, that's exactly where pictures and stuff would go. Anything that's a visual representation will go inside like the V1, V2, V3 stuff. And it's not capped off at 3. Like if I were to add more stuff in here, it could go to V5, V6, V7, however much you need for whatever you're doing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So if I were, so actually that's going to bring me to the essential graphics part. This is a pretty important window, I'd say, for most people, because this is where like you can get your pre-made like title sequences and stuff. So like I'm gonna drag in this random lower third one here, and you see it appears as a paint graphic instead of a regular video, because it's not an actual video that we brought in ourselves, and it's not video content, but it's something that's like a GIF, a like transition, something that Premiere brought in itself, or is not like actual video. And you can see it at the bottom here now. I'm gonna move this lovely thing back here. You can see it at the bottom here, and you can actually just directly like click on this to edit the words. But when you see I click on the graphic, if I expand the essential graphics window here, a lot of the different things that you can do to the graphic itself pops up. So this is where you could change the font, for example, something fancy like this, mess with the alignment and positioning, spacing of the letter, or just the spacing of the letters. Yeah. And for now, we'll just title this Dino Day Out, because that's, I think, what it was called before. Dino Day Out. And below, you can affect the color, of course, here too as well, if you don't like white titling. And once you click off of it, and if you ever want to play something back in the timeline, just hit the space bar, and they'll automatically start playing from wherever the cursor is. Another shortcut to remember, just space bar. You see, comes in with the graphic that was displayed on Premiere Pro. That's cute. I think that was actually a purposeful opening. That worked out nicely. Now, as you might have noticed from me adding that graphic, this top part of the timeline actually changed color. So usually, once you started adding stuff in and you want to like play it back smoothly, it needs to render itself. And I don't know the best way to describe rendering besides you render something so that way it actually can come out the smoothest way possible once you want to play back the final product. Like once you just start throwing stuff in there, it's kind of just all rough first. It's just like you're putting it in there so you can know what you want there. And then you hit the enter key on any computer, on any system, and then it'll actually play back what it's supposed to look like, what you had an image in your head for. I'm not gonna hit enter right now just because I'm afraid it'll be really slow because my computer, I'm doing this all on my Mac, and that can be very hit or miss with working with editing software right now. But it looks like it's fine right now. So you can see the title sequence appear at the bottom in the window, and it disappears on its own. So that's essential graphics. Something that's equally important, which we could do an entire its own lesson on, is the coloring panel, which is named Lumetri Color. Now this panel has like a lot of its own subset panels. They have one for basic correction, which is just any kind of coloring that you want to do on your video. So you have to click on your video first and then go to the right where you see my cursor is, and affect with when it says temperature, it's like the color. So like warm is orange, cold or cool is blue, have purple and green tints. And then with the tone below, they have exposure, contrast, the highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. To the right to raise it, make it lighter, to darken it here, things of that nature. And like this is called the basic correction panel of this smaller panel because, like I said, coloring is its own completely different thing. There are entire editing programs solely dedicated to coloring. I don't think we have a workshop for coloring this semester, but that's one that honestly I think we could do that would be really important for maybe next semester. Because you can see here they have a creative one where luckily if you don't know any kind of coloring, but you still want to make your film look a little bit different, they have a lot of wonderful presets for you that you can use. So if I just click on a random one here, if you click on the image right here, it'll change the program image to it, though I think that one's like so similar that it's not making a big difference. Okay, yeah, so now you can like actually see a color change happen here. But if I were to like start going through it, click on it, and it appears in the program monitor. So if you don't want to do anything yourself, you can always just go through these preset looks and change that yourself, or just have the computer do it for you. And then that these color wheels to like start affecting the change. If I were to make it go back to its original look,
Do you have to go clip by clip to change these colors, or can you do like the
Yeah,
entire thing once?
you'd have to go, or at least I know that you'd have to go clip by
No, you can
clip.
do it all at once. There's a thing called an adjustment layer.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Snehal. Yeah, explain that. Explain that.
Yeah, so on like if you go into if Wallace, you want to go back to like the where all your clips and stuff are.
Yeah. Let me move the chat button out the way. Where did it go? Did I move it up here? Oh, there they are.
That's up there, yeah. um yeah, so basically where he made that new bin last time with like a little paper thing.
Yep. Get a new item.
Yeah, there
Adjustment
should
layer.
be adjustment layer. So basically, and then here you can change the settings to match it to the settings of your video. Usually, it's just automatically done like that. So the kind of like on like Ellis's question where for this like this extra tracks, like this is where it's really useful too. Is where you just put it on the top of everything. You just like make it however long you want, and then you can edit directly on the adjustment layer, and then any edits you do to the adjustment layer will go to anything underneath it. So
So what does the adjustment layer serve to do? Like that's the color change spot?
yeah, so if you wanted to change, if you wanted to like make everything the same like color correction, you could just use the instead of going clip by clip, you can go to the adjustment layer and just do the color
Okay.
correction on there, and then do it. Or like if you wanted to crop the video to make it look a little more like movie like, you could do it all on there. Like any effects that you do
Yeah.
would be just widespread, which is it's useful for if you don't want to go like clip by clip.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say like demonstrate with Snehal, just very well put. Thank you, Snehal, because I completely forgot about adjustment layers. I do not edit as much as I used to. If you put it, like say like right now, these two clips are not connected. They're two different clips. But if I click on the adjustment layer right now and then go to back to Lumetri color and like made everything really orange, now if I go to each clip is automatically orange. But if I were to just leave that, if I were just to put the adjustment layer over this one part and made it really orange again, the clips are going to look different now. You see?
Yeah, that's much easier.
Yeah, it was much easier than what I was about to tell you. So thank you, Snehal, again
No
on
problem.
that one. But yeah, so like I said, coloring is one of those things that could go to its complete own thing. Like there's a difference between color grading and color correction. Color correction is like how you would change the video to look so that it looks like a normal kind of movie, or just like as basic as it can get, as natural as it can get. And then color grading is where like stylizing really comes into play. Like think of a whoever we were just talking about right now. Think of like any director that has a really specific color format in your mind, like not Woody Allen.
Wes Anderson?
Yes, Wes Anderson. Thank
Yes,
you. I was
bingo,
really
Wes
gonna say that.
Anderson.
Wes Anderson. When you think of his movies, they're really saturized. They're really like colors really stick out. That's where color grading really comes into play.
They are.
So that's really
Using
helpful.
fall
Like
colors, orange,
yeah,
red,
exactly,
brown,
exactly.
you name it.
He saturizes the hell out of them shits. And
Yes,
makes these wonderful movies.
He's gung-ho for production design.
Exactly. Because production design is very important, guys. And if any of you ever get to
Yes.
do a job
So
for
is
free on
cinematography.
production design or cinematography, I'd highly recommend taking it because they meet some wonderful people that way.
I love art, so production design is one of my favorite categories.
Yes.
And of course, cinematography. Capturing the movie is super essential.
Another random tip based off of what Julia just said. And if you ever want to do be an AC for someone, that is also a great thing to do if you don't have the confidence to just be the only person in charge of like doing the camera work for something, but you still want to be heavily involved. Assistant camera, great place to start with that stuff. Or honestly, even being a grip. The guy that's in charge of like electricals and lighting and things like that.
Grip, dolly.
G&E is like that general department, grip and electric.
Yes.
Genie.
Genie. I never heard of that term.
Honestly, I thought the grip person was like someone who just like held like a grip on the camera or something. I didn't realize it was electrical. That's new information for me.
And dolly. It took me a while to realize that dolly's this kind of camera movement.
Yeah.
And like when you were like equipment wise, dollies like the thing like literal equipment itself that lets you make that like smooth
It's like a
sliding.
track kind of thing.
Yeah, it looks like
It's like a camera skateboard.
exactly.
Pretty much.
Honestly, that is genuinely the best way to put it. No joke, it looks exactly like that. So
Skateboard, I love it.
a little skateboard, a little mini railroad track, whatever you want to call it, but it looks
Mhm.
exactly like that. Okay, now moving on from that, we can start talking. Oh, go ahead. Someone was about to say something.
I just want to ask. If you're gonna move on to something else, I just want to ask you one thing regarding color. Like, what would you have to do to like make everything look like it was filmed in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, you name it?
So that's a good question. So again, that actually really comes down to, again, how you want to color something. So this is where these other little tabs come in. Like when you think of 70s, 80s movies, or actually maybe that's unfair movies too, but like you think of a little bit more with vignettes. Like you got, if I were to move this adjustment layer over here, just for ease sake, if I were to like really put up this vignette, does it actually change it? No, hold on, I'm actually messing up over here. Or am I completely thinking of the wrong thing here? Well, I think I'm thinking of the wrong thing here. But regardless, when it comes to your question basically of like how to make stuff look like that, it again it comes down to messing with a lot of this stuff in here. So like that comes to its complete own separate lesson of just how to work with the Lumetri color wheel in general, because it's basically working with the, ooh, don't know what that was, but working with that here. I'm going to Command Z that because I have no idea what that was. So yeah, I can't unfortunately answer that question in a good way right now, but that like comes down to its like own stylizing of how you color grade the film.
Yeah, because like I'm pretty sure you've all watched like old 70s, 80s, and 90s movies, right?
Yeah.
So back then you think like blurriness and there was like solid, I'll give one for example. In the 80s, there's like, it was very techy, a lot of solid blue colors and like rich, vibrant red. 80s to me was like the new 50s.
Yeah, so exactly that
You know what I'm
again.
saying?
Yeah. So again, that like comes down to this editing here, like that becomes an entire conversation about like highlights, midtones, how they like mess with the skin midtones / skin tones inside of editing. Like this, like technically, I think it's in Snail. Fact check me on this one. It's either this between this yellow and orange line right here, or orange or red line right here, that like what they call the flesh line is, or traditionally the flesh line, where that's where you really try to fix someone's skin tone in a in editing software. Because I guess whenever you film someone's skin on a regular camera, when you like white balance everything so it like fits the surrounding area, it doesn't actually, it either doesn't look too much like their skin tone or doesn't look enough like it comes out a little different. So it's usually along this line, and specifically what is called the midtones of it. Like, yes, it's called midtones right here, where you would fix that kind of thing. Oh, it's because it's all dipped, that's why. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, moving on from that, I'm gonna come back to the timeline for a little bit just to explain some of these. Let me close this. Let me collapse this a bit more. Some of these lovely little tools on the side here. And I did this really quickly before, but if you ever want to expand or shorten or like zoom in on the sequence that you're working on, go to this bottom scroller right here and click on the ends. So if I were to go all the way to the right and make it longer, where my cursor is, it'll zoom out. But if you go to the left and shorten it, really zooms in for like cuts. All right. So this is the toolbar. This is where a lot of like the quick things that you need to do for editing come in handy. And right now you don't need to memorize all of the shortcuts for it. But usually once you like start getting used to it, they become like second nature, and it makes the entire process go by faster. So you're not you'd be surprised that like going back and forth between this and this all the time does actually kind of take up a little bit more time when you're editing stuff. So like remembering shortcuts as you like edit more and more does become handy. So right now it's selected on the type tool because I was using the graphic earlier to show you guys the titling. But if you just click on it normally and go on top of the program and click on the program, it creates a text box right here. Like if you were thinking about PowerPoint slides, any kind of text box, that's where it puts it. And you'll see where my cursor is, a new graphic appeared on top of the clip that I put the text box on top of. So when you click on that, go to where the text box is and then start typing. And it's typing in the font that we had it in originally. So that's why like it looks fancy and weird. But if I were to go back to this essential graphics, you'll see that the text box now appears in essential graphics because that's where you can make all of those font and style changes I was telling you guys about earlier. So let's make this, let's highlight it, make it white for ease of sake of seeing it. Give it a stroke so it actually comes out better, and change it to another random font. Is that a question in the chat? Let me go back to this. Okay, see you, Rebecca. Thanks for coming. All right, so that's the text icon. If you, having Zoom open while doing this sucks. But now starting from the top, this is the selection tool. This is the really basic one here of just like choosing your clips so that you can know exactly what you're editing. And just skipping between that, not complicated, just literally for choosing clips. This one is, I'm gonna actually go to the ones I use more. The razor tool one, so this is where like cutting stuff comes into play. So say I don't like the end of this clip for right now, where he's like wobbling, having a fit. The razor tool is where you go in, and right now I have the snap function on, and you can see that that's on right here, and the snap telling where my cursor is. And the snap function will make it really easy for you, where your cursor will automatically snap to wherever the cursor is, so you don't have to worry about like the minute-to-minute small cuts. Because if I just have it here randomly and I'm just cutting all over the place, I don't know what I'm cutting, or it might not be specific enough for what I want. So putting it over the cursor with the snap function makes it really easy. So we'll just go here, click on it, and it creates a separate clip within the timeline. And I can just click on that with the selection tool now, and then hit the delete key on my computer, and it's gone. And if I just hit Command Z, back, and the cut's gone. Go ahead, Julia.
Well, I was gonna add a tip, like, and if you want to like make like a boomerang effect, you just cut a certain. I don't know if this is relevant, but if you want to make like
Go
a
ahead.
effect, I was curious with this myself. You cut a clip, you select that footage, whatever, and you just click it. You just copy and paste it over and over. Makes it look like it's happening over and over again.
Yeah, you can basically do that. So like, that's actually really quick to test out right here. So say I cut it, click on the clip, hit Command C on my computer, because it, like the copy and pasting shortcuts actually kind of translate to all programs. And something to keep in mind, if you do Command C, like copy and pasting in Premiere is kind of tricky though, because it's going to do it wherever the cursor is. So if I were to copy and paste right here, it just inserts it randomly inside the middle of the video. And sometimes you can lose footage like that. Like it'll replace some stuff rather than just add on to it. So if you're ever copy and pasting stuff, either move the cursor away from the rest of the video and Command V like that, or something that's really helpful is does everyone see these like locks right here at the bottom? So if you click these locks, it'll actually make whatever is in that track untouchable. So if I were to put my razor on, I could click on it as many times as I want, but it's not going to cut anywhere because I have them all locked. So if you've done some work, like say you colored something like we were talking about earlier, or like you perfectly put the scale of something, and you don't want to edit that anymore, that's really helpful so you don't accidentally start messing up other footage in the process. And it comes in handy with the command, with the copy and paste. If you put it on top of that, it puts it on top of the layer rather than replaces footage or puts it at the end of it. So it's actually really helpful to remember that lock thing. Any questions so far? You can click, oh, that's Jesse. Is that a copy paste? You can click the, I'm just gonna read it out loud, Jesse, if you don't mind. Instead of copy pasting, you can click the clip, hold Option on your keyboard and drag. It's mostly helpful if you want to copy a clip a lot or a lot clip. Yes, that is very true too. Again, I forget a lot of these shortcuts, but Jesse's absolutely right. If you just click on the clip itself and hold on the Option key on a Mac or on a Windows keyboard and just drag, it will also copy the clip like that. So let me actually do that. So hold, copy, and like that, copied. So another one of those really helpful shortcuts that I was talking about earlier. I've been using Premiere for a while, and I don't remember even close to all the shortcuts. Jesse just made one very easy for me just now. So like I said, for when you're starting off, you don't have to worry about it too much, but say like you're like, it's your job to do that kind of thing, or you're just using it more and more often, remembering the shortcuts really does make that process go by a lot faster. Especially when you're making as many mistakes as I am right now. So that's that. Now, another really helpful one is this one right here, the track select forward tool, or A. This one is really helpful because if you're just starting out with Premiere like I was, what you'll end up doing a lot of time is when you go back and edit stuff, you'll want to move everything else. And what I used to do is I would go clip by clip and move stuff. And that's horrible. It takes up so much time and you're going to hate yourself by the end of it. Don't ever do that. What you want to do is use the track select forward. And what it will do is, as the name says, it'll choose everything in front of wherever the cursor is. So let's actually make it easier. So like, yeah, if I put it right here, the clip and anything above the clip or below it, so anything literally in front of the cursor moves together as a unit and it'll snap to where you need it to be. So if I put it over here, it's over here. Same with the other tool here, the track select backward tool. Choose everything in the other direction and moves as a unit. This is such a big time saver. Please use that whenever you're using a lot of clips. It really makes a difference rather than going clip by clip and managing stuff. If you have to go clip by clip for whatever reason, like say you're editing a podcast, you need to make sure that like there isn't like a space in audio or things like that. Makes sense there. But otherwise, I highly recommend using it. Any questions so far about anything? Comments, anything you want me to go back over before I start explaining other stuff as I respond to a very urgent text? But any quick questions? And put in the chat too if you don't want to take off your mic at all. I will take that wonderful silence as a no. All right, so moving right along. Hey, Nicole, I didn't even see you come in. You're hiding from everything.
I just snuck in.
Completely good. Glad to see you make it.
Yep.
So, pen tool. Pen tool is interesting tool here because I'd almost argue this is one of those things that kind of comes up a little bit better, but After Effects, but like it serves a lot of purposes here where I wouldn't worry about that too much when you're starting off with stuff. But like say something that you always want to do is like if you, for example, needed a mask for whatever reason, like you needed to put a specific layer on top of a specific part of the video. So let me make this actually small again. Grab the pen tool and you once again go directly on top of the video in the program monitor. And once I click once, you'll see a little dot appear here. And it'll come up as a shape inside of the essential graphics. And if I start making another dot here, 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 makes a little, it's called a shape, but it's like, another way to put it is like, it's a shape. It's basically a shape you can drag, drop it around things. And this is really helpful for when you need to, for example, blur out certain parts of something. Like if I didn't like Jamili's face here for whatever reason. He's a beautiful man, but say I didn't want to see his face anymore. I can go back to my selection tool, hit the shape, and move it back over his face and like cover that up. So that's really helpful. Here actually is you can use this tool if you want to color very certain parts of someone's face. Like if I were to go on Snehal's face right here and make another shape here, I'm not going to do it, but if I were to make one, you could use that specific graphic. Like you see a graphic popped up right here when I made this shape. Another one would pop up if I made it over Snehal's face. I have to click off the one that I'm already on. But if I were to make another one right over his face, I could change the coloring of that, turn it into basically another adjustment layer, but on a smaller scale, and color his face to basically look more to whatever it's needed for. So let me get rid of that stuff right there. But that's the pen tool. Basically, it lets you make shapes inside the program, quick stuff of just inserting random shapes and mask and such over it. Now, I'll be completely honest. I do not use these other, can use that tool to add a layer or a portion of a video on top of another. The tool to do that in Final Cut. So if I'm understanding your question correct, Sarah, can you use that tool to add a layer? Yeah, you actually can. So if I were to, for example, go back and if I were to put this video, another video on top of this one and make a mask, no problem, see you later. I would be able to actually just like cut out small portions of the video. So it's just whatever part I took out with the shape and the mask, and it would do exactly what you say. Take a portion of whatever video I'm putting the mask on top of or highlighting and go like that. Or you can make the video itself a mask. Like if I'm understanding correctly what you would want to do with that kind of thing of just taking a specific portion of the video, a quick way to do that would be if you go into effects and use the crop tool instead. Drag it over here, go back to your effect control panel, and you'll see that crops pops up now, and mess with these settings right here. So it says portioning off the video. And tell me if that's not exactly what you meant, because then I'll change it. But this is like, if I'm understanding what you're asking, this is how you could like portion off the video. And like quick note about this actually is, if you ever have an effect on a video, but you don't want to see it for whatever reason at a specific moment, you can click on this little FX thing right here, and it'll disable the function while it's there. So if I were to really like cut off the video, but then hit this, the video goes back to normal without the effect on it. Now back to normal. All right. And what I was going to say before was I do not actually, and I'll take any help with this one here, I do not actually use these other tools too much here. Like the ripple edits and the slip tool and the hand tool, those are tools that I've not really had to use much while editing anything of my own stuff recently. So if there's anyone that wants to interject with that quickly, if not, I imagine that you guys won't need to use it as much as often quite yet either, but I'm free to be called wrong on this one. Let's see, what else? The coloring, that. So I've been calling everything panels here so far, like the essential graphics panel, the effects control panel, and there's a lot of other panels in Premiere Pro, and if you want to get access to them or get rid of some, to get rid of one, like if I were to get rid of essential graphics, I go on it, right click, close panel, and now it's gone. But if I want to bring it back, you would go to Windows here, and it'll show you all of the different windows and panels that Premiere Pro has. So if I want to bring back Essential Graphics, it's in alphabetical order. I click on Essential Graphics and it reappears back on the right side of my screen. And if you ever want to adjust your screen yourself, like click and hold on any panel and you can move it anywhere you want. So if I want to move Essential Graphics to the other side,
How do you do that?
click, so I'm gonna put it back right here. So go to whatever you want. So if I were to click on a lumetri color, click on it, hold, and then drag it. And you'll see that the spot that it'll be put in starts to highlight blue. So if I want to put it down here, right next to the timeline, I put it over this blue part, I'd let go, and then it moves lumetri color down there.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is really helpful because like everyone's editing style is different. They'll want it to look like how they want it. So that way you can personalize your workspace basically and make it feel more at home or whatever you're used to. So your workflow personally goes by faster. And since Premiere Pro is so nice, they have preset ones up here. So like they have for different settings. So if I were to hit on the colors one, it'll change everything. So it's more of a color landscape. So you see lumetri colors front and center. It goes right to the color wheel, makes the program really big so you can see it. If I were to go to, let me move this toolbar out the way. If I were to go to audio, bring up all the audio stuff like the audio mixer, it would shorten this and just let you focus on this right here. Graphics, brings back Essential Graphics and makes that front and center. But even have a learning one. So like if anyone wanted to go back and just use Premiere Pro's like quick tutorial things, they have them right here for you as well, and let you kind of go through that at your own pace rather than how to sit through something like this or an online class if that's more your speed. I'm just gonna go back to editing right now. As you can see, the editing one is kind of just like wherever I left it off at because I already messed with it ahead of time. I'm actually gonna move this back down here. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really want to show you guys. Is there any other? Something that I think is actually just really cool to show actually, because we were already talking about coloring earlier, is lumetri scopes. So, is there a question in the chat first? LinkedIn Learning is a good option too. Thank you, Usman. And tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right there. But LinkedIn Learning is very good. YouTube, you can never go wrong with. Something that was really big for me was Skillshare. That program too, it's really helpful. And like I just showed you, Adobe has its own set of classes or like learning lessons that you can go through with the program while you're taking it. But so lumetri scopes is a really cool thing that is useful for coloring inside of Premiere Pro, because if you say you click on the video, it'll tell you basically how the colors are moving throughout the video as it's going. So say I clicked on this one, the vector scope HLS, and really made this big as hell so y'all can see it. You can get rid of this other one. So this will tell you where the colors are really skewed on whatever you're looking at right now. So you can't see the colors as brightly right now, but this is like where the orange, red, and yellow part of the color wheel is. And you can see, look at the program, that's kind of all we're looking at. We have a big ass dinosaur in the middle, and then two on its sides, more kind of orange, yellowish hues. And as you play the video, the vector scope will change to fit more of what colors are actually present. So as you see, we move across the room to the green part, it starts to leak over to the other side of the color wheel now. And this is really helpful for basic correction too, because like you can see like it's really orange, or if there's too much of one color, you can just go into basic correction and start changing it, and it'll change the color wheel along with it, so it's a little more even, or whatever you want from whatever the program is itself. So it's really helpful, I find, when like if you're not a master color grader or a master color correctionist, you just needs like a quick thing to reference. Lumetri scopes really comes in handy for that kind of thing. And now let me see. So now that I kind of shown you, I think everything that is like really basic about Premiere Pro. Like it's extremely in-depth program. Like this is as bare bones as it gets. Like you could spend, like I said, entire lectures on the color grading, color correction, entire lectures on the effects and how those work, greens, like keying for green screens and things like that. Entirely different lessons, but this is about as big as it's going to get for here. And another quick thing to show you is just how you would export something. So if you ever want to export something, always click on the timeline in the sequence itself, because if you're just anywhere else, it's not going to work. It's because that's, you're not exporting anything anywhere else. But so click on your timeline itself, go to File, and go to Export. You'll get a couple different options. Like we just brought up Final Cut Pro earlier. I think Amit brought it up, but he's not here right now. Some sense, like people use a lot of different editing softwares. Sometimes softwares have like versions, like will export stuff for versions of another one. So XML is like what you would call an editing file, basically for a Final Cut Pro thing. So if I were to edit this in Final Cut Pro, but they give it to someone else who wants to use if I were to edit this in Premiere Pro and give it to someone who wants to work in Final Cut, I can export it like that. If I want to export the actual video, I just go to Media, let the computer load and do its thing, and you'll be met with this Export Settings tab. Now, this is where, for the sake of ease, whenever you're editing something, just use H.264. That's what you encode videos with. Just easy to remember for right now. Nothing to go in depth with there. You can leave the preset as high bit rate. It like does a lot of different, like has a lot of different settings for like, again, specific formats. Like there's one, as you can see, for Vimeo, Twitter, mobile device, Facebook, for all that stuff. But you're usually just fine just going match source, high bit rate, and leave it at that. Click here so you can change the draft name. So if I were to just go to the Film Club tab on my thing, Dino Day Out, and name this Dino Day Out, save it, export the video and the audio. Want both of these checked off, unless for whatever reason you don't want to export the audio or the video or something else. You can basically leave this untouched, because that will basically just reflect whatever you did inside of your sequence. So if there was ever any reason that you need to change something once you need to export it, that's where you could change it, but we don't need to do that here. You can leave the use maximum render quality alone. It actually kind of effectively does nothing on my computer. Like it's supposed to be one of those things like it'll come out better, but honestly, like it's the same. And you can either export it directly from right here, or say you were working with multiple sequences, you had multiple things you need to export, you can queue it up and it'll open up the Adobe Media Encoder app that usually just comes along with the Adobe Cloud. And you can just you can let that run on its own. So I'll export each one of those things one after another without you having to manually go back and forth with it. And I believe that is everything that I had on my mind to tell you guys.
Thank you very much, Wallace.
Yes, yeah, so rough lecture.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I was working on my project today, and an issue that I kept running with, which I'm not sure if there's a simple fix to that. If I'm moving, like say like I selected a clip in my, I forgot what the panel is called, the top left one.
Yeah, the top left one, the source one here?
Yes, the source, right?
Yeah.
So like I have a clip selected. How do, like, there's the film icon, which lets me drag the video, and then there's like one that lets me drag the audio.
Yeah, it's,
Is there a way to do the like one move together for both of them?
Yeah. So like you said, so to explain to everyone else what Nicole just said, when you put a video inside of the source folder, you can just drag the video by dragging the video only part right here, the little film thing, drag just the audio, which is like the sound waves. Or if you want to drag both, you can actually just click on the literal image itself, hold it, and it should bring both with you right there.
That's what I was trying to do. Like say, so you use like the brackets, so you selected your clip within the clip, right?
Yeah.
I, for some reason, can't drag that. Like, I tried taking the picture and just drag it.
Oh, you can't drag it like this, you mean? Or it's not doing
Well,
it?
like, what you just did, where you dragged it from the source onto the timeline.
Oh.
That was like you dragged the whole clip. So let's say like I already selected the part of the clip that I wanted from source. So like I use like the bracket thingy.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. So with
Right?
yeah, I keep
Is
trying
it
to
the
get
same thing ultimately?
it should be the same thing ultimately. Let me try it right now. So
That's
when she
so
says
hard.
bracket thingies, you're talking about like the in and out points, right?
Yes, the in and out, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. I call it the brackety things too. But so what Nicole's talking about is when you're in a video, like going to the source, say you don't want to drag the entire clip into your timeline, what you can do is set these in and out points inside of the source. So say the shortcuts are like I for in, O for out. So if I hit the I button right now, you'll see that this entire right side of the clip got selected and highlighted. So if I were to drag it into the timeline right now, it'll just be what's on the right side of the clip. But if I go a little bit further and I hit the O key for out, it'll stop wherever I put it. And now it's just whatever this highlighted part in the middle is for the clip. So now if I were to, I'm gonna put this clip right here. If I were to drag it now, you'll see that it's shorter than the original clip itself, and it just does both of them as before. So Nicole, I don't know why they didn't do that for you. That's actually kind
I'm
of
low-key very mad at myself right now because I was like, you know what? I opened Premiere because I have the project open right now, and I tried doing that and it worked. So I don't know. I must have been on something else when I had this issue, but
oh
like
no, I mean, hey, look, your issue helped me give another teaching point just now. That's a really
that's true. And I looked over my work and now I found out that there was no issue. So thank you.
No, it's completely fine. Thank you. But yeah, those in and out points are actually again one of the really helpful things that kind of mitigate you ever having to pull an entire clip from the source onto the sequence. And then it's actually another quick thing is, so like I said, when you're like editing, a lot of times, a lot of your actual clicking of clips will be right inside the timeline. So if you ever want to shorten a clip though, and not do the in and out process, if you go into timeline and like bring your cursor over here, say I want the clip to start right when his hand is here. So I'll put my cursor right where I want it to be, and I'll go to the end of the clip, and you'll see that my cursor changes to the brackets, and I'll click on the brackets, and I'll drag it so it shortens the clip automatically. Yeah, I know they're screaming and dying like Looney Tunes characters in the background, but
Are those your roommates?
yeah, that's my roommates.
Are they okay?
They're fine. They're just watching something.
Oh,
They're very excitable people.
okay.
But yeah. So you would click like drag to the left or the right. To the right to basically shorten the clip, to the left to lengthen it, or from this side. You'll see that you'll notice that I can't drag it past this, and the reason I can't is because that's where the clip ends. You can never extend it past what is actually already there unless you're changing the timing of it. If you're like slowing down or speeding up a clip, that's when you can start. That's when this will actually become longer than the original clip.
Did you show how to use the C and V shortcuts?
Yeah. The V was the selection tool one. The C one was the razor one. P for pen, T for text box. Those do not translate to Final Cut. Final Cut actually is funny in that like the selection tool in Final Cut, the shortcut is A for arrow, and then
And B
the
for
cut tool,
blade.
B for blade. Yeah.
I had to get used to it. I was very confused at first.
Yeah. Rate changer come in handy for speeding things up or slowing things up. Yes, it does. I do not. Jesse, can you remind me how to do that actually? Because I do not personally remember how to do that.
I think it's over the like on your toolbar, the third one. I think that's the ripple tool. Hold it down and then drag. No, like the little arrow on the side.
This one?
Wait, my cursor's in the way. Yeah, hold it down
Yeah.
and just like rate stretch.
Oh, okay. There we go. All right. See that now we're, as my chemistry teacher would say back in the high school, now we're cooking with gas. Here,
Wait, what does that do?
it makes the clip, like I was saying before, when you want to change the timing of the clip by making it either faster or slower, that's the only time that this blue thing itself here will actually go past the original size of the clip. So now that I've extended it, you can see that the clip is actually going to play back a lot slower.
Oh shit.
And it's like jarring because it's like
Really.
still rendering itself and like a little slow. But because I made it longer, the clip itself is gonna be like slower and take more time to like go through the entire thing. So like it slows down basically. Like Jesse said in the chat, it slows it down. And if I were to go the opposite way of shortening it, like I made it really small, it'd be really sped up. Like that. So again, really helpful thing that Jesse just pointed us to and making that a lot easier. Because a complicated way, or not even complicated way, but you could go in here and like mess with time interpolation here and stuff like that. Or actually really helpful is if you right click on the clips, if you right click on any clips on here, this, when it's pulled up will pop up and you'll see stuff like insert a frame hold segment or add a frame hold, things of that nature will be there. Personally, I prefer to use inserting the frame hold rather than adding a frame hold, because when you add a frame hold, you'll notice that it actually just does this weird thing here of like adding it within the clip itself and then like continuing the clip again after the fact. But if you insert a frame hold, it'll make a completely separate like clip altogether. So that way, if you don't want the frame hold anymore, it's a lot easier to fix. If you don't like remember Control Z for whatever reason, you can just click this away and then add this back so that the video flows again, rather than like leaving it like this. So that's just that, but that's personal preference. I just rather use insert frame hold just because I think it's an easier thing to fix if you don't like what came out of it. So yeah, any other like questions or things people are curious about that I can answer or make Jesse answer or make Nicole answer or Julio answer? Go ahead. Was that a hand for a question?
Well, I was gonna say one more thing about color, unless you've had enough of that.
Oh no, go ahead, go ahead. Like I said, I don't have anything else like officially that I want to talk about for like elementary sake on Premiere Pro. So by all means.
Right. So, for any of you who are interested in knowing how to make one thing in color and the rest black and white, trust me, it took me a while myself to figure it out. All you got to do is just you select a clip and then you go to effects control, color correction, and then you go to leave color, and then you select whatever any color you want. You touch an image that you want to only color while the rest is in black and white, and then you put up the grading to like 100, and then poof.
Oof. Oof.
Everything else is monochromatic.
Yeah.
You got to go to leave color.
Oh, leave color.
You got to go first touch color.
Yeah, I'm on lumetri color right now.
Oh, well,
Is it a different one besides this?
or effect control.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm confusing you.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. So so effect control here.
Yes, and then you got to go to color correction.
Here.
Scroll down. I have Adobe Premiere Pro, so maybe I should try that.
And the other ones.
Here, search in the use the magnifying glass.
The is there a specific effect that you want?
Here, hold on a sec.
Yeah, no problem.
Hold on a sec.
You're talking about like how in the Schindler's List, like when the girl's coat was red but everything else was black and white?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, no, go ahead, go
Try
ahead.
doing
Finish.
effects.
Yeah, I'll go to effects. I think I know what you're talking about now.
Oh, here we are. Go to video effects.
Yeah, what's the thing called? I can put it in the type search bar.
Leave color correction. It's under color correction.
Leave color. Yes, yes. Okay.
Bingo.
Now I understand what you're talking about. Okay.
And you can do red, or you can make it any color you want. That's what
Right.
I do.
And
Is one thing red, and then the rest
if I
black.
use the eyedropper and click it on the dinosaur, for example, and
Yes.
then I turn it all the way up. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking about that because that's actually very helpful.
You're welcome.
This is exactly the effect that, thank you, Nicole, for referencing Schindler's List, is exactly what it would be like. The girl in the red coat in Schindler's List, that's exactly how you would highlight the red coat amongst everything else, which is also one of those production things that you have to keep in mind because you'd have to do that way ahead of time so nothing else in the shot was red, or at least as little red as possible, because the other way of doing that would be creating a mask for the little girl specifically and having that track throughout that entire sequence, which is a lot harder and much more of a pain in the butt to do than what Julio just said. So yes, thank you for showing that to everybody and reminding me.
Very welcome.
Anything else anybody wants to show or share or ask a question about? If not, that is perfectly fine. I'm going to stop sharing this right now then. I'm going to stop recording this now.